Alright guys, Tom here and welcome to a new video, and today I'm doing my WWE Monday Night Raw review video for the 7th of October 2013 episode, of course, of Monday Night Raw, which was last night. Do PM me on YouTube or on Twitter and you can get a full show link in 720p HD. And I did ask a few of you guys on Twitter, what did you think of Monday Night Raw out of a rating of 10? And a few people got involved. If you want to enjoy this and get social media interaction with me about WWE, especially Monday Night Raw and pay-per-views, then you can just tweet me and anything like that. So I tweeted out asking people for a review, a quick short review of what they thought of the show, and some people did actually leave ratings of what they thought. So All Things FUT rated it 8 out of 10, Rise SDH rated it a 4 out of 10, Jamie98 TV3 here rated it an 8.6 out of 10, Carney Evans rated it an 8 out of 10, and Zach rated it a 6 out of 10, sorry, and Delzinski rated it a 1 million out of 10, and Revamp Wrestling did a solid 2 out of 10, and Benjamin Harrison rated it a 9 out of 10. So a bit of a mixed reaction there, but honestly, I thought for this Monday Night Raw, it needed to be really good to recover from the really poor pay-per-view of WWE Battleground 2013, because if you watch my review, you can go and watch it in the link down below in the description. I thought it was a really poor review, so they needed to recover from this and have a really enjoyable and entertaining Monday Night Raw, so everybody can put that behind us. A poor pay-per-view, we knew it'd be a filler pay-per-view because they only had 3 weeks to build for it, but they could put that easily behind them if they had a really good Monday Night Raw for the 7th of October, the night after Battleground. Forget all about that and start building quickly for Hell in a Cell, get a good match card, and it's all behind us. The Battleground pay-per-view was poor and we'll completely forget about it. But honestly, my overall view of Monday Night Raw, I thought it was a really bad show yet again for Monday Night Raw. Any show that makes me question why am I watching Monday Night Raw is going to be a bad show, and honestly, it was just full of bullcrap and rematches from last night, which proves yet again that it was just a glorified version of Monday Night Raw where you have to pay $55 if you're from the USA. So this is a review of Monday Night Raw. We'll get all into the juicy gossip of Monday Night Raw and what I thought about it. And the first thing that kicked off was this Stephanie McMahon calling out Big Show. And honestly, I thought this was one of the only good, decent segments on Monday Night Raw. I thought the rest of it was all full of bullcrap, so you'll get my rating at the end of the show if you want to know what that is. But we started off with Stephanie McMahon calling out Big Show. And basically, the end of this, she just slapped Big Show, because basically what Big Show did was he KO punched Daniel Bryan when Daniel Bryan had the, when he had his finisher, the no-lock, locked into Randy Orton. So he'd pretty much win the WWE Championship if Randy Orton did actually tap out at the Battleground pay-per-view. And then he took out the referee, and then he took out Randy Orton. So Stephanie McMahon wanted to know why Big Show did this and disrupted the main event of the Battleground pay-per-view, and we still don't have the WWE Champion. Personally, on this segment, I thought it was really good. I've said it before, I don't like it when they start off Monday Night Raw with a segment. I really like it when you jump straight into a match and have some good action, but this segment was actually really good. It was feisty, it was really entertaining, it was unique, but it also felt like it was genuine. It didn't feel like it'd been scripted, or they just thought of it 30 minutes before the show. It actually felt believable, and I actually really liked it. On behalf of Big Show and Stephanie McMahon, the acting was really good, and I thought it got across the message that they were angry with Big Show. The way she slapped him and everything like that got a really good reaction from the crowd, and I actually think this segment was a positive one. I thought it was really good, a good way to start Monday Night Raw. If they want people to carry on watching Monday Night Raw, considering Battleground was so bad and the last few Monday Night Raws haven't been great, you want people to be watching till the end. Thanks to the fact there's a lot of competition nowadays with Monday Night Football and stuff like that, you want to keep people entertained, and having a really good segment to start Monday Night Raw was great. So Big Show was answering why he did what he did at the Battleground pay-per-view. He said, you told him to do what he did on Daniel Bryan, and he took it into his own hands on Randy Orton because he was pretty much annoyed with how he was being treated the past few weeks on WWE. And I thought it was a really good segment. I'd actually give this segment a 9 out of 10. It keeps people entertained, and people want to watch on all the way till the end to wonder is Big Show really going to do anything? And then we're announced he was fired because she said, "You're fired." So we wanted to watch till the end to see what happened to Big Show when he come back, or what was going to be the ending segment on Monday Night Raw, because it kind of just ended. You knew that there'd be something to round this off, so it kept you entertained and you were excited for the show to start off with. So I thought this was a really, really good opening segment and a really, really great way to start Monday Night Raw in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the Consol Energy Center, of course, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So a great way to start Monday Night Raw. Finally, I think they hit the nail on the head with a really, really genuine and unique segment. Now, the next match was not genuine at all and was not unique, especially. We had Dolph Ziggler defeating Damien Sandow. And I have a big rant to have a go about this match, because honestly, we have a rematch yet again from another pay-per-view. This was a rematch from the Battleground kickoff show between Dolph Ziggler and Damien Sandow, which, to be fair, they put on a really, really good match at the Battleground 2013 kickoff show between Dolph Ziggler and Damien Sandow. And this match was the complete opposite. It was a polar opposite of what they did at the kickoff show. I thought it was a really, really boring match. It had nothing in it. It had no juiciness in it. It was just a really, really boring match, full of holds and everything like that. It just had no fluidity to it. It just seemed like they completely lost the chemistry they had at the kickoff show. It was not entertaining whatsoever, and fans don't like to see what we've already seen. We saw this match last night. You can use this match maybe in 2 weeks, but we don't want to see something we've already seen, especially if it was on the actual pay-per-view. Thankfully, it wasn't, but we don't want to see something at one night after the other. We want to see a little bit of uniqueness and something new. We don't want to see a rematch which has just been regurgitated from the night before, especially if it wasn't better than the match we saw previous, and it definitely wasn't. It was a very, very poor match. I'd give it a 4 out of 10. And I especially did not like the result. I mean, Damien Sandow took a pinfall victory at a pay-per-view last night. You're supposed to be building this guy up, ready for a World Heavyweight title cash-in, and yet again, he got a pinfall loss on, thanks to Dolph Ziggler, on another pay-per-view. So Damien Sandow is not looking great, and they're booking him a match against Dolph Ziggler yet again on this week's Monday Night Raw, and Damien Sandow loses against Dolph Ziggler, and he didn't even knock him off with his finisher. He uses the famouser, Dolph Ziggler used the famouser on Damien Sandow, which isn't even his finisher. He usually has the zigzag as his finisher, and that knocked off Damien Sandow for the 1-2-3 pin. So Damien Sandow even losing more momentum. I mean, it would be alright if they actually pinned Damien Sandow, but they went one step further and making Damien Sandow lose to a move which isn't even Dolph Ziggler's finisher, which buries him even more and looks him even more weak. So if we're supposed to be getting behind this guy and thinking, well, maybe when he cashes in, he's actually going to win that match, and when he actually has the World Heavyweight title, he's going to have a decent run. It's not even looking like that so far. So far, I'm not really going to be into the run of Damien Sandow. It's not going to be believable when he's on this so huge, massive losing streak. How are we supposed to get behind this guy? How are we supposed to believe this guy when he finally becomes the World Heavyweight Champion, when he's gone on this huge losing streak? What are we supposed to think of him? We're not exactly going to get behind him when he's not really shown anything in the last few months, and then miraculously he's going to get the World Heavyweight title and win a match. It's just not great. And then yet again, he loses, and loses to somebody who doesn't even use their finisher, Dolph Ziggler. So that's my rant. 4 out of 10 for that match. Absolutely shambolic. And it wasn't even as good as the pay-per-view match, which we saw on the kickoff show. Absolutely very, very poor for the starting match of Monday Night Raw. You want to make a good impression, and they really did not make a good impression. For a smart mark like me, or for somebody who's just wanting a decent first match and wants to get entertained by Monday Night Raw, we get a match which we saw exactly the same last night, but it wasn't even as good. So the next match was Natalya, JoJo, and Eva Marie defeating Alicia Fox, Aksana, and Rosa Mendes. And Natalya pretty much carried this match. I mean, JoJo didn't even get tagged in, and Eva Marie went in once, and she looked absolutely terrible. She cannot wrestle at all, and she needs to go right back down in the pecking order to NXT. An absolutely terrible match. I hardly even watched it. It was absolutely awful, but Natalya won. And honestly, absolutely terrible. They need to work. And why did they bring out JoJo if she wasn't even going to get in the ring? Is she not ready or something? But they wanted to show that she's still relevant on WWE. I'm not sure what they were doing with that. But honestly, if she's not relevant, Eva Marie was even more awful. I can't imagine if JoJo is more awful than Eva Marie, because she was absolutely terrible. But Natalya thankfully carried this match and got the victory for the Divas. And they celebrated as if they actually did something at the end, even though Natalya completely carried this match. Another another pointless match, another filler match for Monday Night Raw. Absolutely terrible. But what I liked after this was that Brad Mannix basically came out and apologized for what he did at the Battleground pay-per-view. And I think having this come out, like Natalya's music was on and then Brad Mannix came out and explained, I think having a main event feud just after the Divas match kind of slightly gives a little bit more relevance for the Divas, because as soon as their music and they were celebrating winning, Brad Mannix came out, so it adds a little bit slight more relevance to them because they're slightly getting included just before the main event feud. It does actually add slight more relevance to what they're doing. They're only Divas, but having them included just before the main event feud really does add slight relevance to their match and what they actually stand for in the WWE. But basically, Brad Mannix said that he was announcing that we'd have a vote to see who could be the special guest referee for the Hell in a Cell match between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. Yet again, the fourth match we've seen between these guys since SummerSlam. And you could choose between Bob Backlund, Booker T, and Shawn Michaels. It was pretty obvious who was going to win this, but we'll talk about that later. And I did really like how they made Brad Mannix come out after this match, but for the actual match, I give that a 3 out of 10. And for what Brad Mannix did and how he announced it, he still needs to work on that mic work, but I really liked how they made this straight after the Divas match and what the actual announcement was. I'd give that a 6 out of 10. So, the next bit we got was Los Matadores defeating 3MB. I've got a little bit more of a rant to come on here because 3MB, yet again, are going in a match against Los Matadores, sorry. And honestly, if you're trying to make these guys look good, you're trying to make them entertaining, their last 3 matches, their only 3 matches, have been against the same 3 guys. Well, the same 2 guys, actually, 3MB, because Drew McIntyre's going for a gimmick change. So, you're making Los Matadores, they're making a debut, a comeback as Primo and Epico. Usually when you repackage guys, you make them come back and it's an excuse to give them a push and make them earn the money they're paid through weekly. So, surely repackaging Primo and Epico, you want them to make some good impact when they finally return, but their first 3 matches have all been against 3MB. They had a match against 3MB last week on Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and this week's Monday Night Raw. And so far, they're not making an impact, which makes me believe 3MB are obviously going nowhere, but Los Matadores are really only there to get a reaction from the crowd. They don't have any they have no seriousness about them. It shows WWE have no serious about them, and they don't have any future plans for Los Matadores. I mean, recently they've just been making me think of the Great Khali and Santino Marella, where they just put on the show to get a bit of a reaction from the crowd. They know they get a good reaction from their crowd because they have the Olay chants, things like that, and they get a good giggle out of me, but it proves that they're not taking them seriously, and they're only really there to get a good reaction from their crowd. They repackage them, they should supposedly be giving them a good momentum push and making them have a good impact, but considering the tag team division is so slim at the moment, and you've got the Shield are pretty much untouchable, Primo and Epico have being repackaged into somebody who's just going to give the fans a little bit of a reaction. Now, that's pretty much that. So very disappointed in how Los Matadores have actually come back to the WWE, and they're pretty much doing nothing. So 5 out of 10 for that. Really disappointed in how Los Matadores have returned as Primo and Epico and aren't doing anything anytime in the near future. Yet again, facing off in 3MB, which was an okay match. I think they have some good in-ring ability, but honestly, they're not going anywhere and they're not going to do anything. They're only going to be used as filler, as people on the roster who are going to film matches on Monday Night Raw, and honestly aren't going to do anything. So the next bit was a segment with Ryback, CM Punk, and Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman was basically talking about bullies and working on that heelish character against the crowd, that sly, weird Paul Heyman guy, how he was saying how he defeated CM Punk at the last pay-per-view Night of Champions, even though Ryback helped him and cheated. But Paul Heyman then went to talk about how CM Punk cheated by giving Ryback a low blow at the last pay-per-view Battleground. So he was working on that sly, stupid, weird character of Paul Heyman. But CM Punk came out and gave yet another boring promo, how he's going to rip Paul Heyman's head off. They really need to think of some new feud for Paul Heyman and CM Punk especially, or a new gimmick for CM Punk, because it's really not working out at the moment. It really doesn't mean anything. Every time CM Punk comes out, usually he gets a good reaction, but now his reaction from the crowd just keeps going downhill from now on. He's honestly not getting any decent reaction, and every single promo he does is just same old, same old. It just doesn't mean anything. Just announce the match already and just forget doing promos, CM Punk, because you're not saying anything new. It's just old style CM Punk, who's not really saying anything in particular. He's just there to try and get a reaction from the crowd, but isn't really, because we've seen it all before. In the last 2 months, we've just been seeing the same promos regurgitated by CM Punk, which pretty much means nothing. He's not doing anything in particular. They're still trying to keep him away from that main event scene between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. They're trying to keep Randy Orton and the Daniel Bryan feud away from CM Punk so he doesn't turn into a Cena, which we'll get onto later in the show. But we then had an announcement that CM Punk and R-Truth would take on Curtis Axel and Ryback, and it does look like they're going to have a rematch between CM Punk and Ryback at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And this match wasn't really anything special. It was a bit of a half-assed match, which was just put together in the last minute. It really didn't mean anything, but it especially didn't mean anything when R-Truth and CM Punk did get the victory over Curtis Axel and Ryback, because it does look like we're going to have a rematch between Ryback and CM Punk at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. But honestly, if you want a CM Punk and Ryback match again, and you had CM Punk win the first match at the Battleground pay-per-view, and you want to go in the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view thinking that, well, if you want to get excited behind this match, you've got to think the guy that didn't win in the first match is possibly going to win in the next match. You've got to build the guy up that didn't win to make him actually believable that he's going to win the next match, so you can get the crowd behind that guy and be like, well, maybe this guy's actually going to defeat CM Punk. Maybe Ryback is going to finally get his hands on CM Punk and defeat him. But what they did was fall into the trap of making the faces win in this match. CM Punk and R-Truth did in fact defeat Curtis Axel and Ryback, which pretty much means it just doesn't make anybody interested in the match between CM Punk and Ryback. I mean, the face yet again comes out on top. Well, what's Ryback doing? What's going to make any way possible any kind of fan is going to get behind this match when CM Punk yet again comes out on top? I mean, surely they should have given the win to Ryback and Curtis Axel in this match, because surely Ryback needs to be believable going into the next match. If you're going to be burying Ryback so much going into the next pay-per-view match, surely he has no possibility of winning. Surely nobody's going to buy that pay-per-view if it's obvious CM Punk's going to win. Surely people aren't going to buy into this match when Ryback's going into the match with such a loss and such terrible momentum. We're obviously not going to get behind this match. So they gave the win to CM Punk. Why? To be fair, they didn't give the pinfall on Ryback. They gave the pinfall on Curtis Axel, which pretty much gives R-Truth another shot at the Intercontinental Championship. Hopefully they can finally build decently towards this match for the Intercontinental Championship. Start it off early and build well for the Intercontinental Championship match. But I'm just really annoyed that the build towards CM Punk and Ryback is pretty much dead. How can they recover from this by giving the face another win? And you can't recover from Ryback losing yet again. How are we supposed to get behind this match? So for that, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. The match was okay, but honestly, I was really disappointed in how they gave the win to CM Punk rather than Ryback. So the next match was another filler match between Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston. The match did span over a good 20 minutes, and it was a decent match, but the only story they wanted to play out behind this match was that Daniel Bryan and the Randy Orton feud was still carrying on. And I think the thing that they have to do with this match is they've got to think of some unique things between Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan, because we've seen it all before. We've seen some good unique build towards the last few matches between Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan at Night of Champions and Battleground. There's been some really good unique segments, and they've really got to think of some new ideas to top these ideas that we've seen, which have been honestly really good between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. So far, the build's been pretty good, and it's been really unique, and they've got to try and top this every week, which is going to be really hard to do. But honestly, what they did was actually pretty good between Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan, where they had them have a brawl outside the ring, and Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan both ran away. Slightly unique. We haven't seen that in a long while, I don't think. So it kind of makes it you continue for the next week, see who's going to come out on top next week, because it did kind of seem like Daniel Bryan came out on top this week, but not really. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. It was a kind of unique segment, and I wonder what's going to happen next week between this feud, but they're still trying to top what they've been doing in the last few months, and it'll be interesting to see how they keep up with this for the next 3 weeks, which is supposedly going to be going to the finale of these guys at Hell in a Cell. I wonder how they're going to top the segments they've been doing in the last few months. But for me, the segment was okay, but they've got to really think about how they're going to top the segments they've been doing in the last few months, or we're going to get really bored of this feud very quickly. So for that, I'll be generous, I'll give it a 7 out of 10, but nothing amazingly special. It was okay, but the next match was a Ricardo Rodriguez defeating the World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio via a roll-up pin. And what I have a really huge rant about this match was John Cena yet again gets another title match against somebody he hasn't really come to terms with in ages. I mean, what's Ricardo Rodriguez got to do with John Cena? John Cena yet again gets another title match, even though he hasn't appeared on Monday Night Raw for the past 2 months. He was supposedly going away for 4 to 6 months, but Super Cena recovers fast. He comes back fast for the fans, make the fans happy, and gets a title match out of nowhere against Alberto Del Rio, who I personally thought was in line for attainment against Cody Rhodes. I thought Cody Rhodes was very much in line for a World Heavyweight title match against Alberto Del Rio, but then they throw John Cena in there for no apparent reason. There's much bigger guys and much better guys who definitely deserve that match way much more than John Cena. You've got Cody Rhodes, you've got Wade Barrett, you've got somebody like Damien Sandow even that deserve a World Heavyweight Championship match other than John Cena. And John Cena yet again gets another title shot against somebody who he hasn't even touched in the last 2 years, against Alberto Del Rio. So it makes me wonder, how are they actually going to build this match between Alberto Del Rio and John Cena? Is he going to appear on next week's Monday Night Raw? Is he even going to appear on Friday Night SmackDown, because it is a SmackDown title belt? I wonder what they're going to do with this, but honestly, just on John Cena deserve another title shot? No. He doesn't at all. He hasn't got anything to do with Alberto Del Rio. It just seems like they're trying to add John Cena to this card. Maybe they're going to promote the cancer thing through that by making John Cena on the pay-per-view. He is actually the figurehead of all the WWE and something like that, so they can kind of use that as an excuse to promote it even more if he appears on TV shows and stuff. That's the only real reason why I can think of John Cena is actually in this match against Alberto Del Rio, where it gives an excuse for them to talk about the Susan G. Komen thing with John Cena, as he is technically the figurehead of it all. But honestly, he doesn't deserve that match at all. It just came out of nowhere from Vicky Guerrero. And Ricardo Rodriguez getting the victory pretty much made Alberto Del Rio snap and take it out of Ricardo Rodriguez. I wouldn't be surprised if them doing this makes Ricardo Rodriguez stay out whilst Rob Van Dam isn't there, because honestly, Ricardo Rodriguez really didn't have anything to do considering Rob Van Dam isn't there, because he has actually quit for the next 90 days to recuperate, and because his contract ended. So the only way to write Ricardo Rodriguez off that was to make him go away as well. So they made Alberto Del Rio beat up Ricardo Rodriguez. Honestly, I don't agree with how they wrote off Rob Van Dam. I think it would have been much better and do it in a really good fashion by making Alberto Del Rio beat up Rob Van Dam on a pay-per-view. It would have made a much bigger impact on Rob Van Dam. And it really would have played off Ricardo Rodriguez heelish character much more by beating down the second biggest face in the WWE, arguably Rob Van Dam. I honestly think by them just announcing that Rob Van Dam's taking a break was a bit of a lame move. It just didn't really make an impact. I think it would have been much better if they did it at a pay-per-view. So the next match, or a lame filler match, was between Fandango defeating Zack Ryder. Nothing really to talk about there. Fandango and Zack Ryder both jobbers. Another filler match which really didn't mean anything, just to fill a lot of time. The next match was the Real Americans defeating Santino Marella and the Great Khali. It pretty much proves that the tag team division is dead, that they have to regurgitate yet another match from the Battleground pay-per-view, where we have the Real Americans taking on Santino Marella and the Great Khali, which wasn't a great match at the Battleground pay-per-view. So we have another rematch, and honestly, the Shield being untouchable just makes the tag team division so dead. They have to make these rematches and matches which don't really mean anything, so you've got to have these tag team guys do something in these boring, lame matches which don't have any reaction whatsoever. Very, very disappointing. I think the Real Americans could possibly be tag team champions in the near future, but considering the Shield are just untouchable and honestly aren't going anywhere anytime soon, the tag team division is pretty much dead, and you're just going to keep getting filler matches until they drop them titles and make it seem exciting in the tag team division. So for that, I'd honestly give that a 5 out of 10, regurgitating old matches, and honestly they can't really do anything with the tag team division until they make the Shield drop them titles, probably near WrestleMania time. So the actual next segment was Miz TV and the Wyatt family. Yet again, they're trying to keep the Wyatt family busy, so they make them interrupt a Miz TV segment where Miz basically just gets interrupted by the Wyatt family sound and they attack Miz, and that was pretty much the end of that segment. They want to keep Miz busy. Sorry, they want to keep the Wyatt family busy when Kane supposedly returns at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I'm expecting for them to have a really, really good build towards this match against Miz and the Bray Wyatt at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. So when Kane does return, he makes a huge impact on a big match which was built well. Because if Bray Wyatt's going to go into this match against the Miz supposedly at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and then Kane's just going to return, it's not really going to feel special. It's not going to really make the Bray Wyatt relevant when Kane just returns on somebody who hasn't really been keeping with the times. He hasn't really been doing something since Kane did actually disappear at SummerSlam, but this making Bray Wyatt feud with Miz kind of makes him slightly irrelevant against a guy who did actually main event WrestleMania 27. So making Bray Wyatt busy makes him relevant, and when Kane does actually return, makes it seem like Bray Wyatt's actually been doing something without Kane, so they can continue that feud against somebody who's been keeping busy. So for me, I thought that segment was clever, but also choosing Miz? Nah. It was weird because they made Miz appear on his own show. I mean, at least they could have got somebody out like Big Show, Cena, something like that. I mean, making Miz appear on his own Miz TV show just felt like it had been thrown together in the last 5 minutes. They thought, how could we make the Wyatt family make an impact tonight and start a feud against somebody for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? Miz. Yeah, Miz. It just didn't feel right. It just felt like it'd been thought off the top of their heads. Honestly, very, very poor planning. It just didn't feel like they booked it correctly. But honestly, great move to keep Bray Wyatt busy. Against Miz, maybe not so, but at least he's keeping relevant and keeping busy within the WWE. They went on to announce the match between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton would be. The special guest referee would be, in fact, Shawn Michaels. It was all predicted. You had to go on the WWE app to vote who would be the special guest referee at the actual pay-per-view between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. And Shawn Michaels will, in fact, be in a Hell in a Cell match. They call this down the middle. I mean, Shawn Michaels has had a few times in the Hell in a Cell. I think he faced off with DX against the McMahons in 2007. In 1997, he was at the Bad Blood pay-per-view against The Undertaker in a match at Hell in a Cell. And he also refereed the WrestleMania 28 blockbuster match between Undertaker and Triple H, just being the special guest referee. So he has a little bit of experience, sorry. Where did that word come from out of my head? I don't have a clue. Maybe it's Raw being so shit. But it should be some really, really good, juicy little content we can get our teeth into, ready for that pay-per-view. I like how they've added a special guest referee. It makes it slightly more unique, and it adds that kind of factor. Will Shawn Michaels get... Will he get possessed by Triple H into making some certain rules, or will he call it straight down the line? That's all to be answered for in the next few weeks, and I'll be interested to see how they call this match down the middle and how they build to it, because they're trying to make it unique by adding a special guest referee, something we haven't seen so far in this feud, which is great, but I wonder how they're going to build it. Is Shawn Michaels going to appear on every single Monday Night Raw, or is he just going to appear at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view after returning from this night's Monday Night Raw? Is he not going to appear on the next few Monday Night Raws? I'm not particularly sure, but they've only added Shawn Michaels to add a little bit of uniqueness to this match, and hopefully we get a match called down the line in probably one of the biggest faces in the WWE, Shawn Michaels. He's obviously going to do it for the fans, which makes me believe that Daniel Bryan is probably going to come out on top in this pay-per-view if it is the last match between these guys. But the main event of Monday Night Raw was Daniel Bryan, Cody Rhodes and Goldust defeating the US champion and the WWE Tag Team Champions, The Shield, who did in fact defeat Daniel Bryan, Cody Rhodes and Goldust after Randy Orton popped out of nowhere, RKOing Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan got pinfalled by Seth Rollins. I actually quite like this match because you had Randy Orton come out of nowhere, another unique build towards this match. I mean, you didn't really expect Daniel Bryan to get RKO'd by Randy Orton, who did literally pop out of nowhere. It was out of nowhere, which is kind of unique. It still builds the match between Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan because you didn't expect it, so it adds that element of surprise. You're still getting surprised by this feud, you're still getting excited by it because it's still having some good build, but it's also quite unique as well. You didn't really expect Randy Orton to do what he did, and it's also what we've not seen for quite a while by Randy Orton, so still building up that heelish character of Randy Orton and that sadistic guy that we love to hate by Randy Orton, but also it was unique. I really liked it because I didn't expect it at all. But we've seen Daniel Bryan go up against the Shield so many times, and we also saw Cody Rhodes and Goldust go up against the Shield last night, so some more regurgitated matches from Battleground pay-per-view, which just proves yet again it's a glorified Monday Night Raw. But the match itself was okay. I didn't really watch it that much because we saw it last night. We've already seen Daniel Bryan go up against the Shield 20 million times. But honestly, the only thing they really wanted to have at the end of this match was that the Shield beat down Daniel Bryan after the match. Triple H is watching at ringside through the whole show, and through the whole main event match, and at the end of it, Big Show KO punched Triple H. It was absolutely awesome. I marked out. It was really, really good. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. I thought he would probably cry or something like that, because of course Triple H has mortgaged Big Show's house, so it's going to be pretty entertaining on next week's Monday Night Raw. I wonder what Big Show's got planned for Triple H, or what's Triple H got planned for Big Show, because obviously Big Show has actually been fired, so what can Big Show do? Will it be Big Show versus Triple H at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? I think if they add that to the card with the already Del Rio and John Cena match, which is going to be a good match, they put on some really, really consistent matches at pay-per-views. If they can build that well, they can also keep the uniqueness in the Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton match well. I think this could be actually a really, really good match. So hopefully they do add the Big Show and Triple H match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. That's pretty much my review of Monday Night Raw tonight, guys. I really, really like how Big Show knocks out Triple H, and I wonder what they're gonna do for next week's Monday Night Raw and build towards Hell in a Cell. To be honest, Monday Night Raw wasn't that great. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10 yet again. I think I gave last week's Monday Night Raw a 6 out of 10. But honestly, if they can keep this going towards Hell in a Cell, build some, like, 3 good matches towards Hell in a Cell, I'd be excited, looking forward to next week's Monday Night Raw. But yet again, it wasn't that great of a Monday Night Raw, but hopefully we can keep building towards Hell in a Cell. 3 good matches, I'll be happy, because honestly 3 weeks to build towards a Hell in a Cell isn't great, but if they can have 3 decent matches, I'd be happy. So for me, 6 out of 10 for Monday Night Raw tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thanks for watching, take care, spite your hair, and goodbye.